so happy to have Nick from Johnson & Johnson. Come on up and pull your talk up here. He's the business development manager. He's going to be talking to us about trust and obey, what happens when God calls you out.
Thank you. Good morning. So, now that we're all convicted, I get to speak. So, thank you, Dr. McCauley. So, my name is Nick Sideris, and I'm still pretty new to this group. This is actually only my second meeting, and the first was in DC at Ascris. And I'm based in Detroit, and so I met Dr. Pletcher, who's also in Michigan, and took him out to dinner, just wanted to learn more about the group. Shared my story, and he asked me to come share it with the group, so I'm really humbled to be here. Now today's talk is called Trust and Obey, when God calls you out. So there's a couple circumstances that I'm going to share with you today that God called me out of, and I'm going to explain how I had to trust and obey and the results of that. But I want to preface that I'm not a surgeon. However, I do understand a lot of your daily issues and frustrations because I moonlight with an acting career on a little show that you may have heard of. So I'm Dr. McDreamy's stunt double. So that keeps me busy on the nights. So who am I? As Dr. McCauley said, I'm the refractive business development manager for Johnson & Johnson Vision, and I'm a really nice guy, and I can prove it. So how many people have an Uber app on their phone? Okay, did you know that Uber actually gives you a rating? So you as a rider get judged by the drivers. So all you have to do is pull up the Uber app and then click on the little sandwich button and it'll show your rating. And I have a 4.89. So I told you I can prove that I'm a nice guy. Now, we've all been in Chicago for a few days now, and I strangely have some Chicago roots. My father immigrated to the United States from Athens, Greece, and he went through the Great Lakes channels and actually ported in Chicago. And it's really interesting. He just put on 5 layers of clothes and walked off the ship and never went back. But then he, through the Greek network, decided to move to the greatest state in the country. So he moved to Iowa, and that's where I grew up, was Iowa. So I grew up in a really, really small town, 3,500 people and 1 stoplight, and I grew up in church. Now, I heard that Jesus died for you, and if you believe that, you're saved. You go to heaven. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I can do that. So I'm good. But I didn't understand it. So, of course, when I was finished with high school, I moved to the big metropolis of Des Moines and lived completely opposite of the gospel. The fast life, parties, just everything that you can imagine. That's my life. And had you bumped into me on a Saturday night at the bar and I was completely obliterated and you said, Nick, what religion are you? I would have said, oh, I'm a Christian. But I was the furthest thing from it. So at this time, professionally, I sold home and auto insurance. I was basically a used car salesman. My mom was telling her friends that I was unemployed because she was so embarrassed that I was a salesman. And I was stuck in a cubicle for 40 hours a week. Completely hated it. So I self-studied digital marketing and taught myself how marketing works online, and I started my own digital agency. And I had a friend that was kind of helping me out and guiding me, and he suggested that a really good niche or industry would be plastic surgery. And I thought, okay, cool, that sounds profitable, I'll do that. So I had some quick success and picked up 6 clients really, really fast and was marketing for them. Now, in my personal life, I hopped on an airplane and I, again in Chicago, had a layover in Chicago to Phoenix, Arizona, and I met the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen in my life. And she is sitting here in this room. But we struck up a conversation, found out that we were both Greek, which is why we look like brother and sister. And we started dating long distance, and then she decided she was going to move to Des Moines. Now, at the time, it's 2008, so we're living in the modern age. What makes most sense is to shack it up. Let's live together. Why pay to rent, right? And so, of course, everything that comes along with that. So we're living together, and we are out at a live music festival in Des Moines, and we're just having a couple beers, hanging out, and all of a sudden we walk up to this booth, and it was this group that were just playing the bags and just kind of hanging out. And we started talking to them. They were really friendly, and we said, "Who are you guys with? Is this like a company or something?" I said, "No, we're a church." And we were both discussing that, hey, we should go to church. That seems like the right thing to do. So the following week, we went to church. In this church, they immediately surrounded us with community. We were sucked in right away in a good way, and built up some fast friendships and started walking with this church. I still didn't quite know what I believed, but these people were really nice, so I'm going to kind of see what this is all about. So now I'm at the mall with my friend from the church. His name was Darren, and we were talking, and he said, hey, do you know the importance of, if we truly believe this message, that we need to be sharing it with other people? It's like if we have the cure to cancer, but we're not telling others about it, then shame on us. So, hey, let's go talk to somebody and share Jesus with them. And I said, sure, that sounds great. So I said, you do all the talking, man. I'm going to stand right here and let you do your thing, and I'll listen, okay? And so that's exactly what we did. So we ran into a really normal looking guy, and we just started talking to him and said, hey, we just want to talk to you about life. You know, is there an afterlife? What do you believe? And would you be cool with answering some questions? And he said, yeah. So we said, do you believe in heaven and hell? And he said, yes. And he said, we asked, well, how do you get there? He said, well, I'm a pretty good person. And that's what most people think, right? So my friend Darren said, well, did you know that the Bible actually gives us the barometer to kind of grade ourselves against to see if we're truly a good person? And so that's called the 10 Commandments. So Darren asked, can you name any of the 10 Commandments? And the guy says, don't lie, don't steal, don't kill. How many are we at? So we got 3, so we've got 7 more, but let's just stop there. So Darren asked, well, have you ever told a lie before? I was like, well, yeah. Have you ever stolen anything before, even if it was small? I said, well, yeah. But at least I haven't killed anybody. And then Darren said, well, Jesus says that if you hate someone, you're actually committing murder in your heart. So the guy's completely guilty. So then he brought it into the courtroom. So the analogy he gave was, imagine you're in a courtroom on earth, and you're caught stealing a car. We've got you on camera. You're completely busted. So you've broken the law. This other guy, you've told us you've broken 3 laws already. And the judge gives you 2 options. You can either pay $1 billion fine, or you have to go to prison for life. Do you have $1 billion? The guy says no. So I guess you have to go to jail. So the third option is the judge cannot just wipe it and let you walk, because then that judge is not just. So what he did was he said, I'm going to write that $1 billion check for you and hand it to you. All you have to do is accept it. And that's what God did when he sent his son Jesus to die for us. So that's the punishment that I deserve, this guy Joe deserves, that everybody in this room deserves. But because of what Christ did, we don't have to face that punishment. So I'm like, wow, what a message. And so I look over at the guy, I'm thinking he's got to be like on his knees, right? And he's like this. But then at that moment, if you look over at me, who's standing in the corner saying nothing the whole time, I am... It finally clicked. I finally understood what it meant that Jesus died for me. And so from that moment on, Jesus wrecked my life in a good way. And everything had to change. And so I was living with my girlfriend. I lovingly kicked her out. She was on board as well. And we kept everything legit for 14 months, not that anyone was counting, and got married shortly after. So I told you we look like brother and sister. And now 8 years later, we've spawned more brother and sister lookalikes. And so now let's go back to professionally. So get everything taken care of with the girlfriend. And I'm still doing marketing for plastic surgery. And things are going really well. And then all of a sudden, I had a surgeon from Beverly Hills say, hey, Nick, I really need some help marketing this video. And it's a video of a playmate that he did surgery on, and he wanted to get that out to the world. Now, I want to be really clear, plastic surgery does so many really, really great things. From a marketing perspective, though, I had to market to the aesthetics. And I personally had the conviction come to me that I didn't want to be part of the equation of someone trying to alter themselves for vanity or lustful reasons. And I was a baby Christian, and I had some clients, and to Dr. McCauley's talk, it was the wrong fit because I was in it for greed. Like, I was like, I want to make money, so I don't want to quit this. So I decided to put it down for a week because I felt all this conviction, and I said, I'm just going to take a week off and I'm going to pray. So God, like, you tell me what to do. And then during that week, I got this email. If you can't see it in the back, it says, this is an email from my customer forwarding a lead that I got them. So it says, Nick, here's the first email we've gotten from someone who showed interest. I'll let you know if she books a consultation. Now, as a marketer, this is gold. This is what you want, because it's like, hey, your stuff works, Nick, thank you. And so I scrolled down to see the rest of the message. Now, this is from the patient. It said, do you have any referrals from cross-dressers having the breast augmentation done? There are 3 to 4 of us that are contemplating this procedure, and do we get a discount if we all have it done together? This wasn't even on my radar. Again, I was thinking, lustful reasons, I don't want to do that, and then this comes in. Now, obviously, let's be really clear, like, these people we need to love them where they are, but I didn't want to be part of that equation of bringing more of those to get done. They're going to do it anyway, but it's just, I don't want to be part of that. So I decide, what's the next logical thing? I got to get in the Word, because the Word is a lamp to guide my feet and light my path. So I'm churning inside. What do? I get in my Bible. So this is an actual picture of my Bible. And so I'm reading in Matthew. It's about when Jesus is coming to Jerusalem, and he tells 2 of his disciples, hey, put blankets on the donkey. And I'm like, okay, what do I get out of this? Well, God was speaking to me that they obeyed, so I need to obey. And then, as you can see, there's a highlight, and that's actually on the back side of the page that I had highlighted at a different time. And I'm like, what does that say? I want to see. So now it's Jesus is walking along the road, and he wants to get a fig from the fig tree, and it didn't have any, and so he cursed it, and it shriveled up. The disciples are losing their minds. And so Jesus responds to them and says, if you have faith and don't doubt, you can do things like this and much more. So what I really felt like the Lord was telling me, you can do things like this and much more. So like plastic surgery and much more. Just trust me. So after a month of dragging my feet, I sent this email to my customer. And I'll just highlight this center part. I need to apologize, but I've decided to no longer work in the plastic surgery industry. Please take no offense personally. Plastic surgery has very many positives. As I'm only marketing to the aesthetic side, I had to make some major decisions where to take my business. Because of my faith in Jesus Christ, I've decided to move on to another industry. And then I get into more apology. Please don't kill me. And so here I am, back at zero. I had no idea what to do, where to go. I knew I wanted to be in healthcare in some capacity. I did some stuff with chiropractic. I didn't really like it. And then one of my friends had LASIK. And another friend in Des Moines, his father is an ophthalmologist, and so I started talking with him as well. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to transition to ophthalmology. And it was so slow at the beginning that I was constantly doubting if this was the right move. But God was faithful and said, if you trust and have faith, you will do things like this and much more. So I got on the radar of J&J. This is a keynote speech on social media I did in DC. I spoke with Dr. Blake Williamson, who's like everywhere right now. I also did other talks at ASOA. I've been featured in ophthalmology magazines. I won President's Club at J&J, and they sent us on a trip to Rome with my wife. So God has been so faithful that it's just been incredible. But I want to give a disclaimer. This is not a health and wealth gospel. Following Jesus does not guarantee success. If anything, it guarantees struggle. Because Jesus said, if the world hates you, remember that it hated me first. So we're actually guaranteed struggle. But that's when he gets the glory and we get the joy. So I'm going to leave you with this. Number one, do you know Jesus? I know the majority of us are part of the Christian Ophthalmology Society, but if there's guests, do you know this Jesus that literally changes lives? And if yes, is there anything he's calling you out of or into? I think this was a great, it piggybacks off of Dr. McCauley's talk. And if no, refer back to number one. You need to know him first. And then 3, how do you share Jesus in your practice and in ophthalmology as a whole? We all have been to these meetings, and we know that the world is out there, and we are the light in the world. So we are that city. You're the light of the world, like a city on a hilltop that cannot be hidden. So how does this group band together to share Jesus out and about? How do you share with colleagues, which is so difficult? How do we share with peers or patients or staff members? So I would just encourage you to think about that, and I just want to thank you for your time today.